Hello everyone. In the previous session we had seen data types or primitive data types in C# language. In this session we will discuss about type conversion or typecasting in C# language. Now the question is, why do we need, or what do you mean by typecasting? Well, basically if you see, this is all about your data types that we had seen. Okay, so to perform an operation on variable, okay, on two different data types, we need to convert both these different data types to same data types. At that particular instance of time, we need casting. Okay, so if you're having same data type, then we don't need any casting. Maybe a minute one we need, but at that time particularly we don't need any, right? And if you're having a different data type, let's say string and integer, then we need something called as casting or conversion. They are of two types. One is implicit conversion and explicit conversion. Well, we go for implicit conversion first of all. So I have this implicit conversion over here, and I just delete this one. So if I have, let's say, integer data type, and I have a variable I, and I'm just putting my values here 254, and I need to save this value into my long data type. So if I take long variable L, and I just pass the I of integer, and I need to print this console.writeLine the long. So I put L. So this is what exactly is this? This is nothing but one implicit conversion. If I run this, you will see the 254 running on my output window. You can see. Okay, so what exactly we done here? We had taken integer data type with 254 value. Now you see, why is this implicit conversion? Is because we cannot see this implicit conversion over here. This is somehow underlying, or you can say this is a hidden structure. You see, these integer and long, they are both of different data types, but they both are numeric, but they are still different data types. So this integer holds lower range of values in contrast to, or in compared to, the long. Okay, and we had explicitly seen that. If I go to this PPT, and if I go to this ranges, and if I show you this range, you can see the integer range is -2147, and if you see the long, this minimum to maximum range. Okay, so you see the long data type is having a larger range compared to that of integer. So that's why I can do this implicit conversion. It internally does there. See, integer to long, it is implicit conversion. From here, from this long, it is directly converted into the string. If you see the console.writeLine, it's nothing but the string data type, but it is converted into it. We are passing long, but it is converted into the string console.writeLine. Okay, so two implicit conversion we can see here. So basic idea of any conversion or casting is, if we go from low range data type to high range data type, we don't need any kind of casting here. Okay, this is no need of no casting. It explicitly, or you can say automatically, it does. Okay, so we don't need, this is implicit conversion. Internally it is done. So I is get converted into the long, and long is converted into the string here. Okay, so this is your implicit conversion. Okay, one more example we can take it over here. So let's say if I have one string, and if I have string variable, and I'm passing hello, and I want to save this string into my object variable. So I take object data type obj as a variable, and I'm just passing this string variable here, and I will print this console.writeLine and obj, and when you see the output, you will get the hello, okay, from the string. So string is comparably lower range data type compared to that of the object. So this is low, this is high. That's why implicit conversion took place here. So this is easy, I guess. So if I go with something called as explicit conversion. And if we explicitly see this, one more thing that you need to take care here, let's say if I have integer I equals to, if I take this number like very long range, and when I take this long L equals to, and I pass the I integer variable, and if I console.writeLine, if I do this and I pass the L, you see I cannot do this because integer value is having some ranges. So if I go integer and if I right click and if I go to my definition, you can see F12, and you see the integer maximum value is just this number and its minimum value is this number. So I cannot go with this huge number. This is not acceptable in integer data type. So keep that in mind, that you don't take the out of range number. This is not allowable, and you can see this squiggly line. That's why the number the error comes up, compile time error, and you can see it cannot implicitly convert long to integer. So this is basically problem. .NET is making a contradiction that this number is basically long, but we are taking integer. So you cannot do this too. So this will give you a compile time error. Okay. Next thing is we need to see the explicit conversion over here. So explicit conversion or casting. What is explicit is basically, let's say if I take double D equals to, and if I pass 3.14789, whatever the number you want to pass. So if I have this number, and by default all real number is going to be, by default it is double in C# language, so we don't need to provide any D or small d. It is not mandatory. Okay. So now this double data type, if I want to pass this into my long data type, so if I take long L and I pass D over here, and I want to print this console.writeLine, print this long here. If I do that, you will see there is an error. You can see cannot implicitly convert double to long. So you can easily understand that double is basically, it is first of all, it is the floating point number. It cannot store. Even if it stores, it will only print, long will only print this 3. So if I control Fn, it will give me an error over here. So I need one explicit casting over here so that this long understand that I need the same data type. So if I do here something like if I do long, and what we did over here is nothing but we match the data types, long and long. Now this will basically print the value over here. So if I go with control F5, you can see it prints 3. As I told you that double is basically floating point and long is not. Okay, so long will only take the fractional part. Okay, this one, not the fractional part, but the before decimal value, whatever the before decimal value is there, it will take and print. So he had taken 3 only, and it will show you the 3 over here. So basically there is a loss of information over here, and that's the problem of explicit casting when we do something like this. So explicit casting works when you store the value of high data range, high range data type, to low range data type. Okay, at that particular instance of time we need explicit conversion. Okay, I think this is an easy way to understand. Okay, now we can take another example over here. Let's say if I have instead of double, if I have float f equals to, if I have 3.249, whatever the number you want to print, keep that in mind. It take only 7 decimal precision that we had seen in our previous session. It needs f over here, so I declare that, and then if I need to print this float value inside my integer data type, and so do you think this will work? Let's print this console.writeLine and pass I. It will definitely not work because float is a higher range data type, integer is low range data type. Okay, so this is not gonna work. Even if I do the casting over here, so I need same data type. So what data type should come over here is basically nothing but integer. We need integer over here, so I pass integer, and if I do control Fn, F5, you can see 3. So there is a loss of information of my fractional uh, points or fractional number, which is not a good idea. Okay, so this is our explicit type conversion, and basically we can go for another things too. Let's say if I want to change this integer to something called as we can also use convert here. So if I go with convert dot to integer 16, if I do something like that, and inside that you can see that it needs a value. So if I pass the f, okay, it will work, it will print the value 3. Okay, so if I do control F5, you can see the exact same output with the help of convert to integer 16. So this is also a kind of casting that you can do, or conversion you can do, for matching the same data type. So you can use either convert to integer 16, either you can use 32, no problem at all, the output is going to be same. Okay, let's analyze one more thing over here. Let's say if I have long data type L as a variable, and if I have value 3548, okay, and then if I take integer data type and I want to save my long variable, or say a long value to my integer value data type, so I just pass L and I'll try to print this console.writeLine. I pass the I. This is definitely not going to work because this is a high range data type and I'm storing the values into my low range data type. This is not going to work. So I need a casting over here, or either you can do the integer, or either you can use convert that we had seen. Sorry, convert dot integer to integer 16. So if I have this, and this will definitely gonna work. You can see 3548, 3548, no problem. But let's say if I do something like this, if I extend this long number, long value to this extent like this, and now if I run this, you will see an unhandled exception over here that specifically says that it is an overflow exception method, and you can easily get this error that value was either too large or too small for an int 16. So this is somehow easy exception or error that you can find. So it says that this value is too big or too small for int 16 to hold it. Okay, so you need to keep a note over here that it cannot, whenever you take this 2 int 16, 2 int 64 or 32, the values that you are passing, it should be constrained to this range. So keep that in mind. So either you can use 2 int 16 to int 32, that is, you can see over here 16, 32, 64. According to the thing, you can use any of it. Okay, so this is one thing that we had somehow deal it with. Now there is one more thing that I need to create over here. Let's say if I have one string and I have string str, and let's say if I have, instead of alphabets or the words or anything inside the string, I need to pass the number itself. Now how basically I can do this? What if I want to save this number inside my integer data type? Can I do this? This is basically not possible, right? It's somehow string to integer, it's how it's going to be possible. Even if I do this casting integer, this is not somehow possible, right? So you can see there is an error. So what basically we can do over here, even if I run this, you can see it's not gonna work. There is a convert type to string, there's an error, so I cannot do this. So there is one thing we can do in this session, that we can use something called as parsing method, int.parse. So if I use this, and it explicitly needs something called as string, you can see in the bracket it needs string, so I can pass now str over here, and now this is going to be worked. So whenever you use a parsing method in int.parse, keep that in mind that you are doing something in between string and integer. So you are converting string and integer. So whenever there is a need to convert your string data type into the integer data type, you can use int.parse. There is one exception over here that we will discuss, but for this situation right now, to pass this 500 inside my integer, I can do something like this: int.parse inside that my string, and now I can print this. So you can see 500 is going to be printed, no problem, right? So this is the solution that you can do. So int.parse is basically used to convert your string data type to integer. However, it cannot handle the null value. So now if you provide here null, okay, this is going to be error over here. If I build this solution, control, yeah, it's definitely going to be, you know, build, but it is basically not going to show here. But if I run this, it's going to be unhandled exception. You can see argument null exceptions, value cannot be null, so you cannot do this. So how we can resolve this is basically with the help of convert method that we had seen. Let's say if I have convert dot to int16, hope this will work. But if I do this, if I run this, you see it shows me in 0. Now it is somehow, I mean, it doesn't show any error, it runs, output window is clear cut, but logically it is wrong, because it works, but it will change the value from null to 0. Logically it is somehow wrong, because null, it means nothing, it should not show anything, it should be blank somehow, but it is showing me 0, and 0 is, it means it is there, it is, you know, it is something instead of null or blank. So this is right, but logically it is wrong. So this is not gonna work over here. Okay, so now to resolve this complete thing, I can use something called as int.tryparse method. Now that is I mean, it cannot convert the string to integer, but it will validate you that your string is valid or invalid. So let's say if I have let's say if I have the same thing 100, if I have not 100, if I say, let's say if I have 100 and inside that I have something like this condition, the numeric value with some characters. Let's say this is the thing that you need to convert from string to integer. I cannot basically do this, this is somehow not possible, but let's say how int.tryparse method helps you over here. So now the syntax is going to be somehow different. I am taking integer as a result, and now to see, I mean, to use the integer dot tryparse method, it needs the boolean. Basically you need to pass that value into the boolean, because it will show you that it is valid or invalid, somehow true or false. So you need a boolean data type. So I'll take boolean, my let's say display, and then I'll use int.tryparse method. You can see over here, so you can see it needs one string, so I'll pass string, and then it needs one out, okay, out, and then I just need to pass the integer value. So I am passing my integer value, that is res, that we had taken over here. So now instead of console.writeline I need to pass the res. Okay, so when I do this, you can see by analyzing this code, basically it should give me the something called as false, because ultimately this string is not when you convert this into the integer data type, it is not going to happen. So ultimately the output window, it should give me false, and we can see here it is showing me 0 basically. Okay, so this is somehow wrong, it is not yet giving me the right value, because we haven't print that. I'm basically printing the x value, sorry, I need to print disp here. I was wondering why this is happening, so I need to print display. Now it will show me the false value, you can see. Okay, so this string is basically false to convert from string to integer type, that's why it is showing me the false value here. So I cannot pass this to my integer data type. And if I do this console.writeline to show your result that we had seen, we can print this value too, so that you can basically understand that. So you can see this is false, but the integer value, it is showing me still It is not showing me null, it is showing me 0. So this is somehow wrong. But let's say instead of this 100 FE, if I print 100 only, and now if I do, you will see that this line of code, this boolean, it will give me the value true, because this string can be passed to this integer result. Okay, this can be done, and we had seen this basically we can do with the help of convert to sorry, not only convert to, but we can do with the help of integer.pass method that we had seen, and we can explicitly check this condition that it is working or not with the help of boolean and integer.try pass method. Now let's say if I run this, you will see it will give me true, and it specifically passed this value to my integer data type, and that's why it is printed as 100. Okay, so display this, the condition is right, that's why it is showing me the boolean true. And what is the value that we passes from string to integer? That is 100, that's why it's showing me the 100. So this is your integer.try pass method. Now the basic idea over here, the difference that we can see, what is the difference between integer.pass, integer.try pass, and the convert to integer 16 or 32 or 64. What is the basic difference is basically I can show from here. So this is, you can actually take a note over here. So if I want to use integer.pass, integer.try pass, and convert to integer 32, specifically use string to integer, convert any data type to integer. Syntax that we had seen, basically it cannot handle null, and we had seen that it can handle null values with the help of boolean that we had seen. It will show you the string is valid or invalid, and that is nothing but your validation that we had seen. Type parsing, it will check the validation of the type parsing. It can handle null values, but this is not very reliable, because it will give you the 0 value at the time of null. If you do something like string str equals to null, but in the output window instead of blank value or null value, it will show you 0, and 0 it means something. So there is a logical error over here. So this is the basic difference between these three things that we had seen in type conversion. Thank you so much for listening to me.